Yo, what is up guys, welcome to a new video. Today I'm gonna show you how to make a hardstyle kick from zero like this one. This is probably the most requested tutorial ever in my YouTube channel. I mean, basically every week somebody tells me to make this tutorial. And well, here you have it. And I'm gonna let you download the FLP of this hardstyle kick. So it's where you just need to move some settings and just have your own hardstyle kick. The link is down below in the description. Just get it and use it as you prefer. And before going to the video, I have to say a special thanks to my friend Festo, who helped me a bit to understand how to make hardstyle kicks. So shout out to him. And with that being said, let's start with this. The first thing you need to make a hardstyle kick is obviously a basic kick that then you're gonna distort to get that distortion feeling. The most used one is a 909 kick, but basically you can use every kick you want. You can use a 909, you can use an 808 or just a basic kick and see what is the end result that you get. So I have these two kicks. I have classic 909 and a more standard kick. I'm gonna use this one first, but then I'm gonna show you what happens if we use this one. And obviously, as I said, we need to distort it. And to distort, I'm gonna use the Mistortion. Mistortion is a really good distorting plugin. You know, this is not a sponsor or anything, but this is a really good plugin and is free, so you can download it. What I'm gonna do is put 3 Mistortion, okay? And first, I'm just gonna distort a little bit. This just to make it a bit fatter, add a bit of distortion, and more or less try to get the hardstyle feeling. And then here in the middle of the distortions, I'm gonna put some EQs, but I'm gonna talk about this later. So this is the Mistortion, and as I said, it's really good because it has a lot of functions to distort, and it has the symmetry, a really cool thing for hardstyle kicks. If you have a lot of distortion and use the symmetry, as you can see, it changes a lot the character, and it has a DC filter that if you use the symmetry is super important, because if you're distorting and use the symmetry, this is what happens. The waveform is not centered, and if you use the DC filter, then it's centered, so that's why it's super useful this. So as I said, I'm just gonna distort a little bit to make this kick like a bit fatter. And now with this one, I'm gonna start distorting a little bit more. As you can see, when you change the tone, it completely changes. I'm gonna try the soft. I don't want this for now. Maybe reduce a little bit here. And last but not least, with this last Mistortion, I'm gonna distort it a lot. So we went from this to this. I think I'm gonna distort a little bit less on the first one. I'm just not gonna distort. So now that we have the distortion, what we need to do is to put EQ before the distortions. What you're gonna get is first the EQ and then the distortion. And why do you want to do this? Because now what you're gonna do is boost and reduce in some frequencies, and those frequencies that you boosted are gonna affect differently on the distortion. So in the end, you're gonna have a different feeling on the kick. So I put this first EQ before the second distortion, that actually is the one that is working. And if I boosted this, what happens? As you can see, it changes a lot. So well, now let's try to make this sound a bit cleaner. Just gonna reduce it here a lot. Let's see, a low cut. Maybe a bit less here. So this was before and after. Sounds a bit cleaner and the tag is more clear. Now I'm gonna add another EQ before the distortion, and I'm gonna try to give a bit more bass to this, and let's see if by boosting the sub bass it changes the character and gives it a more crispy sound. I don't want that much for now, at least. A bit more here. And I'm gonna use some frequencies that I don't like. Boost a little bit here. I'm gonna try to boost a bit more here. Let's see what happens. Maybe cut some frequencies here in the middle. Now what I'm gonna try is to change a little bit the original kick by pitching it down or up, and also maybe stretching, and let's see what kind we get. The thing is that if you pitch at the end, you're just gonna get the kick in a different note. But if you pitch the original kick before all the distortion and all the EQing, you're gonna get a different character on the kick that maybe you prefer. If I exaggerate this, as you can see, it's completely different character. I'm not gonna do it that much. Maybe not one perfect semitone. And maybe I'm gonna try to stretch this, because I think it's a bit short. Other things you can do here is sometimes do, and this time I think I'm not gonna use it, is to take the pitch, put it just on 1, and create an automation of this. Now what you wanna do is, of course, not do it like this, because otherwise you're changing the entire semitone, but just a little bit like this, and maybe with a bit of curve. And what you're gonna get with this is a less flat kick. If your kick is not that much doing like the wong feeling, you know, it's too flat, try this and you're gonna create a bit of movement. So without and with. But I think for now I'm not gonna use it. Now I'm gonna add another EQ that is gonna be before the last distortion, and with this EQ what I'm gonna try to get is that distort feeling of hardstyle kicks. To do this, what you have to do is just boost a lot the mid frequencies, and when I mean a lot, it means a lot. Just to do it really simple, just boost it like this, and here you start to get that hardstyle feeling. Of course, I'm not gonna do it that much, at least for now, so maybe something like this, a bit more narrow, maybe a little bit more. Let's see if I boost here a bit. Something like this. And I'm gonna reduce a bit here. And now let's see what happens with the low cut. As you can see, it changes a lot the sound of the kick when you use a low cut. If you don't want this to happen, what you can do is just go here and change this to linear phase, and this way it's not gonna happen anything. Keeps the same sound. But right now what I want is to change a bit the sound with this low cut.
A few moments later.
Alright, so I've been working a bit on this EQ because it's something that takes a bit of time, and every little change that you do, every frequency that you change is gonna affect a lot the kick. So finally, I just moved a little bit these frequencies and made them a bit more narrow or wider, and now sounds like this. We start to have that hardstyle feeling. Now I'm gonna open a new EQ and a new distortion, and now what I'm gonna do is just work on them at the same time and try to get more aggressive and hardstyle feeling. So to do this, basically I'm gonna distort a lot more. And I'm gonna move the tone. What I realize is that usually what works better instead of 50 Hz is between 60 and 80 Hz. If you want to give like a more aggressive feeling on the mids, you can go higher like this. But you lose all the sub bass, so that's not really good. Like this one. I like this one, but I think I'm just gonna keep the 6 dB. What I'm gonna do is boost here a bit some frequencies. There's a resonance somewhere. I think it's this one. Let's see what happens. It's just too much, you know? And let's see maybe if I put the mix up. And last but not least, I'm gonna apply a last EQ to basically make it sound a bit cleaner and with a bit more sub. So let me boost the sub bass here. A bit of low cut with the 48 and clean a little bit here. And a bit of brightness. So now what I'm gonna do is render this kick, and I'm not gonna render only this part, the beat, okay? I'm gonna render more or less from here. To render the kick, what I'm gonna do is click in this dot here, and you can go here, this recording, and render to WAV file, or just click the Alt R, appears this, and click on start. So right now, this is the waveform of the kick. This is the kick we have. So what are we gonna do with this kick? I'm gonna clone it, rename this as talk, and I'm gonna make this unique, and I'm gonna rename this as tail. What I'm gonna do first is just take the talk or the punch or the attack of this kick, something like this, and I'm gonna take it out from this. So right now it's gonna sound the same. But why did they want to export until here and not just until here if the kick is gonna be this long? Because right now what I'm gonna do is use this thing, the sleep, and I'm gonna move this. And this way I'm gonna get a different touch, because maybe I don't really like this part and maybe I prefer this part, you know? So this way I can move it and get a different feeling on the kick. Let's see what can we get. As you see, it changes a lot. I like it more this way. So now let's work a bit on the talk and on the tail differently. So I'm gonna put them in a mixer channel. And on the tail it's gonna be simple. I'm just gonna open a new distortion and I'm gonna try to make it a bit more aggressive. And what I think I'm gonna do is create here a volume automation and make it like this. Sometimes works better this way. And I'm gonna add a little bit here, just a little bit, just to add a bit of warmth and strength. Now what I'm gonna do is copy this tail, make it unique, reverse it, and move the in to the max. I'm gonna put it here, and well, I don't want the tag, so more or less like this. But of course, I don't really want the bass of this, so what I'm gonna do is put it in a mixer channel. I'm gonna cut the bass in the mids, something like this, and boost a bit the highs. And now I'm gonna use the stereo shaper to make it a bit wider. I'm gonna put it on the sides. Hardstyle kick is not like future house or progressive house kicks that are in the center, you know. On hardstyle you want a bigger feeling and cover a bit more space and the sides and so. So just with this, move this a little bit. Make sure it's the same on both sides. And let's see how this works with the tail. Of course, this is a bit too loud, but we're gonna solve that later. And last but not least, the talk is something that actually needs a lot of work to get a really good talk, and probably would need just a specific video for that. But well, now I'm just gonna show you what you should do to get a good talk. To get a hardstyle talk, basically what you don't want is the sub bass. It seems weird, but you don't really want it. And you want to boost the mids a lot. If you want to go more raw style, maybe you want to distort it like this. You know, if you want more hardstyle feeling, not that much. And distort, of course. As you can see, it changes a lot the character. Another plugin I like to use for the talks is the isotope trash. I use the distort and clip control. It's gonna give a good attack on the talk. But not that much, something like this. And now, as you lost the sub bass, what you need is another kick. I just took one from FL. That sounds like this. That is gonna give the bass feeling. And of course, we reduce the volume and try to match it. Another thing you want to do in the talk is add a bit of reverb. This way you're gonna cover a lot of space and it's gonna sound super good. I want this reverb to be really bright, so I'm just gonna put it like this. Really big. It is too much. And now I'm gonna sidechain this to the peak controller, so just right click here, link to controller, you choose this one, the peak, and you invert it. Actually, I'm gonna use this reverb too on the reverse tail, but here what I'm gonna do is just create an automation of this. But we want more reverb on this. And maybe we can add that reverb also on the tail. So this is what we have so far. You know what, I don't really like this talk. It's not that bad, but I prefer a more professional one. So I'm just gonna take this kick that I took from a sample pack, and I'm gonna take only the attack of it, so something like this. I need to make it louder, so boost it like this. And I want the reverb, so I'm gonna put it in the talk channel, but of course I don't want the distortion, because it's not for this one. So now it sounds like this. Let's send this tree to a mixer bus. Let's match a bit the volumes. On this bus, what I'm gonna do is put a compressor. You can use the compressor you prefer. I'm just gonna use the Pro C2, and I'm just gonna boost this to bring up a bit the reverb. I'm gonna put an EQ to make it sound a little bit cleaner. And as I want to do a low cut, what I'm gonna do is put this in linear mode. And last but not least, I'm just gonna use the invisible limiter to make it sound loud and compressed and limited and so. And the last thing I'm gonna do is go to the tail and open a volume shaper to get like the fish shape. This is something that I learned from noise controllers. By fish shape, I mean this. If you draw here again the same, you're gonna get like a fish. Of course, this is too much, just a little bit. But if you put this on your tail, it's gonna give a bit of movement to the tail. So this was before and after. Gives a bit of movement, it's like it's closing and things like this. So that's it. What we need to do now is just click here, Alt R and render, and we have our kick. This is our kick, this is our hardstyle kick that we created right now. So what can you do right now? Just use this kick if you like it, or you can change a bit the beginning of the kick, you know, the original kick, change it a little bit, pitch it down, pitch it up, apply a bit of EQ in, change a bit the distortion, and the difference is gonna be huge. So let's get back here, and maybe what I can do is just pitch it down. So now it sounds different. You can go, for example, to the first distortion and change it a little bit. You can go here to the first EQ and boost, for example, the lows. I guess you don't want this. Or for example, what you can try to do is use this kick. Let's pitch it down. You get a different feeling, or you can use 808s or other kicks. Another thing you can do is to try to add a bit more movement. In this case, in this kick, it's not really needed, but let me show you how to do it. For example, with this tail that we had, what we can do is go here and put an EQ. What we're gonna do with this EQ is just put a bit some mid frequencies. And we're gonna automate the frequencies. So just go here and maybe make it go down a little bit. Another thing I like to do is to use the isotope trash, especially this one, the sandpaper, because it gives a lot of distortion. Of course, not that much, just a little bit, and automate this mix. So if we automate this and we make it go down, this is what we have now. So if we export it, this is the new kick, this is the previous one, and this is the difference between them two. So well, this is how you can create your own hardstyle kicks. It's something that the knowledge is simple, you just need to put an EQ and a distortion and touch the EQ and touch the distortion, but to get a good result takes a lot of time. Depends a lot on the distortion you're applying, depends a lot on the EQ you're putting, depends a lot on the original kick, as you could see, but if you follow the things I said here, I know you're gonna get a good hardstyle kick in the end. So well guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful. If it did, just leave a like. If you have any questions, just put it down below in the comments, and see you in the next video.